welcome to Chanel's Reality. I'm Chanel, and this is my reality. So listen, I just realized this. I'm a little late, but I just realized that um there's been a lot of people who unfollowed Jay-Z and Beyonce. Um, so I wanted to talk about that just a little smidge, and then we're going to talk about Beyonce, and then we're going to talk about Epstein. Um, Hold on. So let's get into it.
Jay-Z and Beyoncé have been secretive about their relationship for a reason, and it's because Jay-Z has a lot to hide. He met Beyoncé when she was only 16 years old and decided that she is going to be his wife. From then on, Jay-Z and Beyoncé's mother worked together to treat this relationship like a business deal. Beyoncé was so young that she had no other choice but to follow his orders. Over time, fans have been concerned about her well-being. Some speculate that Beyoncé is trapped and being controlled. Others say that there are rumors that Jay-Z has been with another woman, and when he found out that she was pregnant, he eliminated her. In this video, we're doing a deep dive into the conspiracies involving Jay-Z and Beyoncé. So let's get into it.
I love Sloan.
Beyoncé and Jay-Z are undeniably one of the most powerful couples in the world, and their relationship has a lot of secrecy to it. Today, we're doing a celebrity conspiracy video on their relationship because there are a lot of questions. People question when Beyoncé and Jay-Z actually got together because there are reports that she was a minor. We've also got conspiracies involving affairs that Jay-Z had with other women, including one woman named Kathy who mysteriously passed away. There's also debate that this woman, Kathy, could actually be the mother of Blue Ivy.
Now, I don't believe that Kathy I don't believe that the Kathy White lady allegedly, and let me say this, everything on Chanel's Reality is all for entertainment purposes only. It's all alleged. I don't know none of these people. I wasn't there, right? It's all alleged. And but at any rate, my understanding of the Kathy White story is that Kathy White allegedly had been, I guess, hanging out with Jay-Z and, having a sexual relationship with him. There was this journalist lady, I think she worked for Star Magazine or something like that, who, wanted to run the story about Kathy White. And she reached out to Kathy White a few times and I guess had some sort of proof. And then Kathy White allegedly agreed reluctantly. It was like, okay, I'll go ahead and let me think about it. And then when this journalist reached back out to her to try to find her, she couldn't. And so then I guess she kept calling her job because this is before cell phones were like heavy, like how we have them now. Everyone has a cell phone now. Back then, everyone didn't have one. So at any rate, when she finally gets to someone, they tell her that the Kathy White lady is dead. She's died. And it's like, what? And I think there wasn't a whole bunch of time in between when she started talking to Kathy White and investigating the story and reached out to her and when Kathy White actually died. But what I do find extremely interesting, and I'm not even a conspiracy theorist, but I do find it very interesting that the Kathy White story that the lady was going to break, the journalist that had reached out to her was going to break, was supposedly that, Kathy White was Jay-Z's mistress and that Jay-Z had lots of, I guess, other women outside of, Beyonce, right? And so one begins to think, well, why does, if you want to go with the conspiracy theory that, okay, Jay-Z had someone, unalive this lady and make it seem like, oh, she had a brain aneurysm, it doesn't really make sense if you say, okay, we put the puzzle pieces together. Okay, so he has this one lady over here that allegedly is, pregnant with his baby and is going to announce it or break a story about it. But he also has 10 other women that he's seeing. So allegedly. So if he's seeing, let's just say even 5 other women, why not break the stories about those women? Why? What makes her so special, quote unquote, that she needs to die and the other ones don't? But then you dig a little bit deeper and you realize a few months after Kathy White passed away, Beyonce announces on the VMAs, I believe, that she's pregnant. So it's like you can't have, this is just my opinion. I don't know none of these people. I wasn't there, but you can't have Jay-Z over here getting found out that he is, having a baby with this other lady over here, right? This side baby and side chick, supposedly, allegedly. And then now it's gonna trump anything Beyonce and Jay-Z does after that, because that's gonna become the story. So in my opinion, if that man did do something to that lady or had someone do something to that lady, that's why, because they needed to make sure that whenever, Beyonce made her announcement, and again, it's all alleged, that it would make news and it would, basically, if you're a mega star like a Beyonce or even a superstar, someone that's high caliber, high earning, that type of thing, if you have a baby or if you announce you're pregnant, you're going to get good press for probably about a year and a half. Because it's going to be, oh, let's talk about, how you guys, decided that you wanted to become parents. And the next 6 or 8 months will be how the baby's growing, and let's take a picture of Beyonce and Jay-Z shopping, or whoever you are, right? For the baby items, like they would actually shop for it. And then the next year is going to be, oh, the baby came and how she snapped back and her body's, you know what I'm saying? That's what it's going to be. So nobody's really going to be mad at her. So we can't have this other story over here. That's just my opinion about what happened. I don't have no proof of this. It's just my little opinion of what I think. If the story about Kathy White is correct, if it's correct, that's what I think happened. But this is more about Jay-Z and Beyonce losing followers. Like, I went to Jay-Z's Instagram, and I don't think at this point, I don't think the man has social media anymore. I'm not 100% sure, but I couldn't really find anything. Like, when I went, it's like his whole social media has been scrubbed, and some of Beyonce's too. And it's interesting to me because it's like, how do you scrub the damn internet? How do you just make shit disappear off the internet? But it's not the first time I've seen internet sites get scrubbed.
So there's a lot to dive into. And again, I want to give a disclaimer that this is a conspiracy video. I'm not showing you false reports, but I'm just putting things together. So let's go through it. Let's talk about how old Beyonce was when Jay-Z came into her life, because there is a 12-year age gap. Now, when speaking to 17 magazine in 2008, Beyonce said, "I was 18 when we first met and 19 when we first started dating." She continued, "There's no rush."
I don't believe any of that. I believe Beyonce was 16 when they first met. That's what I believe, but it's just my opinion.
No one expected me to run off and get married to him. Now, Beyonce has been firm that she met Jay-Z when she was 18. However, Jay-Z has previously implied that they first met when she was 16, famously declaring
See?
that she will be mine. There's also a photograph that was taken on the Destiny Child's No 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 music video set, and this would be Jay-Z and Beyonce together just 2 months after she turned 16. So
how did y'all meet? See, this is what I be talking about. They so full of shit. I can't take it.
There's already one statement from Beyonce, like, debunked. Now, I'm not saying that Jay-Z's done anything wrong at this point, but I'm saying that she was definitely 16. Another image from January 31st, 1998 captured Jay-Z attending a Destiny Child's performance in North Dallas when Beyonce, again, was still 16. During an interview in 2013 with Oprah, Beyonce emphasized that their relationship started over a year of phone conversations, stressing we were friends first and that foundation is so important. Well, it's interesting that, like, Jay-Z would be like calling up like a 16, 17-year-old. Kind of reminds me of what grooming is.
They have a 12-year age gap, and in an interview, Beyonce said that they met when she was 18, but didn't start dating till a year and a half later when she was 19. But Jay-Z did an interview with Charlie Rose saying they met 10 years ago, which would have been 1997, which would have made her underage. Regardless, their explanation is that they waited a while before they started dating, which is also like what Kylie and Tyga said.
Let's just revisit what grooming is. Essentially, grooming is when an adult will go after a minor, trying to build a relationship with them, trying to text them, build up these phone calls, trying to gain trust and some emotional connection to them before they go in for the kill. Now, Jay-Z did a song with Pharrell a couple years ago, and he brags about grooming a 19-year-old girl and explaining in the song how he does so. Everyone made the connection to Beyoncé because on record, they started dating when she was 19. He said, Hav got a young girl, still not quite 21, so high strung, such a vibrant thing. I introduced myself. Hi, Miss Thing. You're 19? No, you're lightning in a bottle. I give you a ring tomorrow. There's a reason why Hollywood stars always seem to walk away from scandals untouched. Just like there's a reason why Morgan comes in. With over 1,000, and it's easier than ever. You don't have to deal with QR code or visiting.
There's always the one who cares for you, fights for you, believes.
And I feel like every decision she's made in life has been in part his decision too. In the past, we've done videos about Beyoncé possibly being drugged up. And I don't know if this is true or not. She doesn't really do interviews anymore, but I don't know. I don't think she could be drugged up and performing the way that she does. But some people think that she's in a similar situation to Britney and controlled by Jay-Z.
Here's why I believe Beyoncé is under a Britney Spears-like conservatorship with Jay-Z. She recorded her first album at 15 years old, to which he had a direct hand in, so he definitely knew her prior to that. Again, Beyoncé claimed that she started dating him when she was 19, which would have made him 31 at the time. She has even said in multiple interviews that he taught her how to be a woman.
He taught me how to be a woman. He taught me how to lead.
Which very much sounds like grooming to me.
That clip of Beyoncé saying that Jay-Z taught her to be a woman is so, I don't know, it seems so dark to me. I know she's trying to be nice to him, but at the same time, it kind of feels like he stole her innocence from her. Now, in 2003, they started to collaborate on songs like Crazy in Love and Bonnie and Clyde. In 2004, they were seen at the VMAs together with a bunch of PDA. Around this time, there were a bunch of rumors that the couple had married or even got engaged. Beyoncé hit back at these allegations saying, I'm engaged and married at the same time, pretty much saying neither are true. So between the years 2004, 5, 6, 7, people were talking about the possibility of Beyoncé and Jay-Z being married, and maybe it's in secrecy. A blind item revealed on January 28th, 2004, Jay-Z attended a party with his friend and he gave a speech. While speaking to his friend, he said, you've been one of my best friends I could ever have, apart from this woman, Beyoncé, beside me, who I love and will marry soon. Now, everyone at this party took it as an engagement announcement. Shortly after, Beyoncé stated that she had no immediate plans to marry. And during that summer, 2004, the two could have gotten married. Jay-Z was in the middle of rehearsing for his now infamous Best of Both Worlds tour, while Beyoncé was finishing a tour with Destiny's Child and began filming The Pink Panther. But the entire time, Beyoncé was denying everything. There was a press conference in May 2004 where she clarified that no, she's not married to him yet. And a lot of people were wondering what's the holdup because they've been together for so long. And I feel like part of the public pressure pushed them to get married because in 2008, they got married in a very private ceremony. There wasn't much people there. There were no paparazzis there. Jay-Z spoke about his wedding saying, I just think it's part of your life that you got to keep to yourself. You have to, or you'll go insane in this type of business. Now, there were some celebrities there like Michelle Williams, Gwyneth Paltrow, Chris Martin. Now, we do have a clip from their wedding. It does seem like it's pretty small and low key, which good for them because they're so rich. They could have had the biggest wedding, and it seems pretty standard. Even Beyoncé fed him some cake before they kissed. Now, after these two get married, people were still not happy. They started to speculate that maybe this marriage was so secretive because they didn't want people speculating about their relationship or the timeline or the possibility of Jay-Z potentially grooming Beyoncé. This is an interesting blind item that we got from March of this year about Beyoncé and Jay-Z. This globally adored pop star is widely seen as one of the most powerful and influential women in the world. Her marriage to a rap mogul has long been praised as the pinnacle of a black love and empire building, but behind closed doors, it's anything but a fairy tale. What most people don't know is the superstar never truly wanted this relationship to begin with. In fact, the marriage and even the relationship itself was something she was pushed into by no other than her mother, which is interesting. I mean, I don't think Beyonce's been with any other man if she's been talking to Jay-Z since she was 16. Beyoncé was barely 19 when Jay-Z, then in his early 30s, took a keen interest in her. At the time, she was still finding her voice, still figuring out her identity, and unsure about getting involved with a man nearly 13 years her senior. Her mother, who had been managing her career, Beyonce's mom, saw the relationship as a strategic business move. She told her daughter that being with the rap mogul would solidify her career and put her on another level. The mother was focused on creating an empire and believed aligning her daughter with Jay-Z would do that. So despite hesitation, Beyonce went through with it, but she didn't know at the time how dark her future husband's past was and how it would come back to haunt her. Jay-Z has made a statement in the past that his marriage to Beyonce was not built on 100% truth. I wonder if this is what he's talking about. Jay-Z said, "This is my real life. I just ran into this place and we built this big, beautiful mansion of a relationship that wasn't totally built on 100% truth, and it started cracking." Now, we've talked about Uncle Ron before on the channel. He is a celebrity bodyguard who worked for Jay-Z and Beyonce. He has said in interviews that their relationship is not about love, but it's about business and maintaining their image. He also claims that he was pressured into silence and intimidated after attempting to speak out. Uncle Ron's last video, uploaded before his death, yeah, we're talking about death here, people, was uploaded on September 14th, 2023. He claims that Jay-Z had deep connections to Diddy and even suggested their involvement in Biggie's death, claiming that he was offered money by Diddy for that hit. He also said that Beyonce and Jay-Z's marriage was purely a business arrangement designed for financial gain and power. Of course, the close timing of the video leak of him talking about them trying to ruin Carrie Hilson's career and their close ties to Diddy to his death, I mean, it caused people to speculate, was he just killed off because he made this video? Now, Jaguar Wright has done a bunch of talking, some that's gotten her in trouble. She describes Beyonce and Jay-Z as a nasty little couple engaged in questionable practices. On Piers Morgan, she said that she knows 3 people who could testify against them. They do nasty things. People were detained against their will or taken while unconscious. Now, Beyonce and Jay-Z's lawyer has denied every allegation that Jaguar Wright has made, but I want you to hear her out.
You're a narcissist. He could care less about anything or anyone else but himself, and those children are body shields. When they got married, they had a prenup. 3 children had to be produced so she could collect 500,000 for the girls and $1 million for a
Wait, do prenups include how many children you have to produce?
boy. Like, this is business. That was decided before all of those children came. In the marriage contract. You should see that prenup she signed. It's a business.
Now, how Jaguar
Cold,
prenup?
hard math.
At Marshall's, our buyers hustle 24/7 to get you great deals on the good stuff.
First beer of the wedding.
Is there enough for everyone?
Oh, right there.
I got this.
This comment reads, "I think people who signed NDAs can't speak, so they called Jaguar Wright to spill the tea for them." But I want to switch gears. Like I said, this is a conspiracy video, and I have another layer to this conspiracy, possibly a reason why their relationship is so secretive. So now let's talk about the other woman. We're going to be talking about Kathy White. She was a PR expert before she died. She went by little Kathy, Rihanna, Hun, and Corey, little nicknames, because she's half Korean and African American. A video posted on YouTube by the account Trap Lore Ross claims that Kathy thrived when she was in LA. She crossed paths with a bunch of influential figures like celebrities like Nikki Chu, a photographer named Genoa Maxwell. We had Claudia Jordan. Model Claudia Jordan even stated that she was friends with Kathy White. Now, it's unclear where Kathy and Jay-Z supposedly met, but according to that YouTuber, they may have crossed paths in a Vegas trip through their friend Claudia Jordan. Photos from a party appear to show Kathy hanging out with Jay-Z as well as Diddy. Now, Liz Crokin is a popular journalist and conspiracy theorist who I've come across before, and she began to dig into Kathy White's connection to Jay-Z. This is back in 2010, so imagine Beyonce and Jay-Z married in 2008, and then Liz hears a story about a possible affair that he's having. Liz said, "My boss asked me to look into an online blog report claiming that a woman named Kathy White, who her friends call Corey, was having an affair with Jay-Z." Liz actually reached out to Kathy, and at that point, Kathy expressed that she would consider going public with her story. Liz wrote in 2011, "I was the reporter that Jay-Z's alleged mistress, Kathy White, was going to do an interview with and go public. A few days later, she was found dead. I believe that she was murdered and that Jay-Z was involved. Kathy was only 28 years old at the time, so just randomly dying doesn't really make sense. Liz has done an interview where she explains her interactions with Kathy White. Let's go ahead and take a look.
And I was, under the impression that she was very strongly considering talking to me and telling me her story about her affair with Jay-Z. So a few days go by and I'm following up with her. I'm calling her and I can't get a hold of her. And I believe that this went on for a few days. And it was just really weird because she always answered her work phone. I thought it was really strange that she was answering her phone. She was MIA. I didn't know what the deal was. So I ended up reaching out to one of her colleagues. And when I finally got hold of one of her colleagues, they told me that she's dead. And I said, what? And she said, yes, she's dead. And I said, well, what do you mean she's dead? What happened to her? This is just a beautiful, young, seemingly healthy 28-year-old woman. I was told that she didn't have any health issues, and it was very shocking.
This is the journalist I was talking about earlier.
To hear. And her colleague did not know what happened to her or how she died or why she died, but all she knew is that she was dead. So obviously when I heard this, it was very troublesome and disturbing to find out that this woman who possibly was going to give me an exclusive story on her affair with one of the most powerful rappers in the world, that's very disturbing. And it certainly is very convenient for Jay-Z, isn't it, that she died?
So Kathy supposedly died of a brain aneurysm at the age, well, this is age 29. I believe she was 28, but still really young. And a lot of people thought maybe there was some foul play here. There have been a bunch of conspiracy theories about Kathy White since her death. Our friend Jaguar Wright claims that Kathy had been pregnant at the time of her death, and I guess Jay-Z would have been the father there. But Claudia Jordan, their mutual friend, shut down the speculation. Now, I don't know which side Claudia Jordan is on because she's friends with Diddy and Jay-Z, so she might be doing some of their dirty work. But here's a clip of Jaguar Wright, again, talking about the possibility of Kathy White being pregnant and Jay-Z taking her out because he didn't want to have to answer for this affair or this possible, kid. I'm sure Beyoncé would not have been happy about that.
She actually died screaming, and the Carters are responsible. But one of them is just a little more responsible than the other. Did Sean Carter delete his mistress, his pregnant mistress, because his wife was jealous?
When I think about how I divide my time, it's very carefully. I'm Alex Diaz. I'm a professional marketer.
Now, Claudia Jordan said on an Instagram Live that she came to my house a few times the few months we hung out in 2010. She said she was not pregnant. We drank, we gambled together, we played craps in Vegas. We went to an amusement park with her then boyfriend, who was not Jay-Z. Another wild fan theory claims that Jay-Z and Beyonce's first child, Blue Ivy, is actually Kathy White's baby. Beyonce announced her pregnancy on August 28th, 2011 at the VMAs. Just days later, Kathy White died. So Claudia is working overtime to try to prove that there wasn't an affair here, there was no baby, there was no relationship, that essentially Jay-Z is completely innocent.
I saw him in Vegas at a party where Jay-Z was there, Diddy was there, my friend Kathy White, that y'all keep trying to tie me into her death. It is not true. She was not having an affair with Jay-Z. She never told me she was messing with him. Matter of fact, when she died, she had a boyfriend. His name was Malcolm, and she died with him. I need y'all to stop this rumor that she was pregnant by Jay-Z. She never told me that. I never seen her pregnant. I seen her drinking. We went to Magic Mountain, Six Flags together, and was on the rides. These are not things that people that are pregnant by superstars do. No.
But there is a blind item that was going viral on TikTok that claims that she had actually changed her story to protect Jay-Z.
If you've been keeping up with the rumors about Jay-Z, he allegedly had his pregnant mistress, Kathy Corianna White, murdered, and her friend Claudia Jordan is allegedly being paid by Jay-Z to protect him and keep quiet about what she knows. The supposed friend of a probable murder victim is being paid a lot of money to now change her story to protect this permanent A-list rapper.
I mean, if I was Claudia and they told me, hey, well, if you want to do anything fishy, you'll end up just like your friend, Kathy, I would probably be scared. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below.
No, you gotta go back now and say, why was the NFL continuing to support with all the confusion going on in the media? And maybe it's all of that found money right there.
And then out of nowhere came these young children. I don't know where they came from. And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyonce. So I hear B say something about,
I'm not gonna lie, after we found out why Beyonce made a lot of the songs that she did and for what reasons, I am not shocked one bit to find out that Jay-Z is allegedly listed in the Epstein Files.
50 Cent is still keeping his foot firmly on Jay-Z and Beyonce's necks. And now he's hinting that Beyonce herself might be tied into this whole Epstein situation. By now, you probably heard that Jay-Z's name popped up in those Epstein files. There's a woman claiming she woke up inside Epstein's mansion, and she says Jay-Z and Harvey Weinstein were both in the room. And as soon as that information started circulating, 50 jumped on social media talking about how he wants to put together a whole documentary on Jay-Z and Epstein. 50 said, damn.
Let me just say, for a good part of this video, I was muted and I didn't know it when I was talking about Claudia Jordan and some other. But anyway, let's get back to it.
They got your man Jay in the Epstein files. I gotta do a doc on this ish. But here's where Beyonce made a mistake, thinking she could control what 50 does. Allegedly, Beyonce got her lawyers to warn 50 to stop posting about Jay and Epstein. But as you can imagine, that just made things worse. So after 50 posted about possibly doing a documentary on Jay-Z's connection to Epstein, a source close to Beyonce said she was furious because apparently the Carters had already paid off major media outlets to not talk about this. Even the Shade Room quietly deleted their post about Jay being named in the Epstein files. And notice how TMZ, People, Us Weekly, Complex, Billboard, none of these outlets touched this story. So the Carters probably thought this was going to blow over. But they clearly forgot about 50 Cent, because if there's ever an opportunity to shade Jay-Z, 50 is not letting it pass him by. And you know 50 lives for a threat. That man gets energized when folks think they can scare him. So after word got out that Beyonce Beyoncé allegedly sent her lawyers to warn 50 about speaking on Jay-Z and Epstein, 50 jumped right back on social media and shared a cryptic post hinting that Beyoncé might want to back off. 50 also shared this AI-generated clip of himself and wrote in the caption, "I smell beef and popcorn." So now with 50 Cent stirring the pot, you just never know what else might come back up. We already saw how 50 dug up all kinds of stuff on Diddy for that documentary, things a lot of people didn't even know existed. So if he could do that, he could definitely do the same thing with the Carters. Now the real question is, can Beyoncé actually stop 50 from making a documentary about Jay-Z? Well, the internet doesn't think so. Fans online are saying Beyoncé might want to sit this one out, or better yet, call a divorce lawyer. But here's the thing, a lot of people are now starting to believe Beyoncé might be complicit in whatever Jay-Z was allegedly involved in. And because of that, the divorce is highly unlikely. Because if we're being honest, Jay and Beyoncé probably got dirt on each other, and it's safer for both of them to stay married. And let's not forget that Beyoncé has had her own separate allegations floating around for years. Everything from claims that she sabotages other female artists to much darker rumors about black magic and so-called sacrifices. One of the most disturbing allegations came from former NFL player Larry Johnson, who claimed he once attended a weird party with Jay-Z and Beyoncé that left him deeply disturbed. According to Johnson, this was back in the early 2000s at a late-night rap party the Carters were hosting in Colorado. He says there were people there who didn't look like adults at all, and that Beyoncé allegedly made a comment that made him extremely uncomfortable.
Now, I did a Rockaware photo shoot in Colorado, and I think it was during the winter time of 06 or 07. And Naomi Campbell was there, actress Jamie King was there, Jay was there, B was there, and he rented this house. And we were supposed to do this rap party for this photo shoot. We rented this house, and we were watching LeBron play. And after the game, it had to be like 10 or 11 o'clock. So we getting ready to party. Mind you, it's all adults. There was a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old teenage Latin girl that was there, and I think she had to leave because she had school and she had to do homework, but she brought her mother with her. So it was no funny business going on, which I could respect that. So when 11 o'clock hit, we turned on the music, we started drinking, and then out of nowhere came these young children. I don't know where they came from. For a rap party at 11 o'clock at night, drinking, loud music, and us dancing wild, like, I don't know where these kids came from. And then I happened to sit down because I was dancing with one of the assistants. And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyoncé. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look sexy, or isn't this sexy? And in my mind, and mind you, I'm not awakened as I'm awakened now. So in my mind, I'm like, what did she just say? And then I didn't pay no attention to it. And then, you know, obviously the liquor took hold of me and I had to leave. So I said bye to everybody and left. But those kids remained. I don't know if those kids were from the photo shoot themselves, but the fact that these kids came around adults during drinking hours or partying hours was already alarming to me.
And then there are also all those rumors about Beyoncé being involved in some dark practices like witchcraft and rituals. These claims aren't just coming from random folks on the internet. They're coming from people who worked with Beyoncé for years. Back in 2018, Beyoncé's former drummer, Kimberly Thompson, came forward accusing her of practicing what she described as extreme witchcraft, and it didn't stop at accusations. Kimberly even went as far as filing for a restraining order against Beyoncé.
This has been going on since 2006, and it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. And for a very long time, I put this person on a pedestal. I loved them. I'd send emails, you know, publicly, happy birthday and all this stuff. And the entire time, this person was casting spells and manipulating me and controlling my job situations, my relationships, just all kinds of.
But Kimberly isn't the only one who made these kinds of insinuations. More recently, Beyoncé's former dance captain, Ashley Everett, was caught liking some real shady posts and comments. And one of those posts claimed that when people listen to Beyoncé, they don't realize they're entertaining demons. But it gets even darker. Another former dancer, Khadijah Cherie, who worked with Beyoncé on the Formation video and her 2016 Super Bowl performance, came out with some truly shocking claims on Instagram. She called Beyoncé a witch and even accused her of allegedly calling for something to happen to her child. Khadijah wrote, "Are you effing serious? You called for my child to be R-word? You evil witch. Essence, check on my child. I'm about to blow this ish through the effing roof." Now that post quickly disappeared from Khadijah's page, and honestly, most people would have never even known about it if it wasn't for Tasha K. Tasha came through with the receipts and shared screenshots of Khadijah's post on X, and then also broke it down on her YouTube channel.
Beyoncé is being accused again of doing black magic. Now here's what I'm gonna say. Here's what I'm saying. Everybody ain't lying. I spent probably a week doing research on all the people that they were connected with, and all of them are connected to some sort of black magic, some sort of witchery. Okay, this is an ex-dancer of hers, and now we remember the ex-drummer that came out, and we call her crazy too. We got the interview of the drummer. Y'all remember her? And she was saying that Beyonce was using witchcraft and all that stuff, and it always comes out around the time when she getting ready to cipher for a new album. I know Beyonce's a witch. I saw the Lemonade visuals. I saw it. I said, this is dark.
Now, let me be clear. These are all just allegations. Nobody's saying this is a proven fact. However, when you keep hearing the same types of stories about the same person from different people, that's when people start wondering, when does coincidence stop being a coincidence and start looking like a pattern? Because one rumor you can brush off. Two, maybe. But when similar claims keep popping up from people who are actually on the inside, that's when the public starts paying attention and asking real questions. And then there's this whole other angle people don't like to talk about. The idea that Jay-Z and Beyoncé might not actually be the ones running things. Because let's be real, no matter how rich or famous these entertainers are, there are people behind the scenes with even more money and more power calling the shots. Remember when Kanye claimed that Beyoncé and Jay-Z are just controlled puppets, and he hinted how most of these celebs are being blackmailed by something they did in their past?
You know what I'm saying? They can control Shaq. They can control Charles Barkley. They can control LeBron James. They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Not you, man.
But they can't control me. You know, out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize.
So between the Epstein allegations, the media silence, Beyonce's alleged legal threats against 50 Cent, and all these past allegations coming back, the Carter empire is starting to show some real cracks. And now the big question is whether they can actually recover from this, or if it's already too late. Because once the public starts forming opinions, it's hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. But let me hear what you think. Do you believe 50?
I agree. But I will say I do not believe 50 Cent is going to do any type of documentary on them, because one of the things that I noticed when 50 Cent had his foot planted firmly on Diddy's neck, and we all knew he was going to do some sort of big, documentary, he started with the memes. Remember, he had Jay-Z on the milk carton talking about "Where's Jay" or something like that. He, in my opinion, I watched a lot of videos, and 50 Cent was, to me, gearing up to bring or to insert Jay-Z into some of the fuckery that Diddy was going through. That's what I felt, because that's where he was going. And then all of a sudden, I see 50 Cent on some white guys. I don't know if it's a podcast or it was some sort of social media platform. And suddenly it was right after, maybe a week after or 2 weeks after the allegation that the 13-year-old made about, coming from some sort of, I guess, industry party, some sort of award show. And then she was sexually assaulted. This is what she claims allegedly happened to her, but that Jay-Z was a part of it. So then, Jay-Z, him and Beyonce, they don't ever say shit about shit. They don't acknowledge anything. They just like, we're going to let it die. It'll take a news cycle or two and we're going to let it die. Or they go and get their get back. That's just my opinion. In some possible way. Maybe it's money-wise. Maybe it's destroying people's careers. Maybe it's, shutting people up. Whatever it is that they do, these stories die. They go somewhere and die. But that story didn't die. But what I did notice is when I saw 50 Cent go on that show, it was either a show, it was some sort of social media. I don't know if it was a podcast or whatever. But when he got on there and he suddenly changed his tune and was like, yeah, that's unfortunate, and we can't make, and I'm paraphrasing, he no longer had the same energy that he had for Jay prior to that. It became, well, he has a daughter and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, allegedly, this girl who's claiming he did something to her, she's somebody's daughter. Fuck you mean? So I don't know. That's when I started to believe that somebody got to him. Like, it's all good, in my opinion, to say whatever you want to say about Diddy, because Diddy's the weirdo. He's the woman beater. He's the, clown of the century, and he's just being found out. But you always was clowning Diddy. So, you know, it was cool to do that. But it felt like, and it didn't really make sense to me. And this is why I thought it was the weirdest thing, because remember a few years ago when they had Eminem was on the Super Bowl and Dr. Dre never doing, I think Snoop Dogg and all that. They were doing that whole thing. Eminem wanted 50 Cent to be at the Super Bowl, but Jay-Z at that time, in my opinion, bought his way to the NFL. I don't know what happened, but they put Jay-Z in. I guess he's supposed to be our hip hop savior. They put him in charge of, I guess, the entertainment. And he was like, yeah, nah, we not have 50 Cent. Eminem was like, well, if he ain't coming, I ain't coming. All of a sudden we saw 50 at the Super Bowl, you know? So if you think about it, when the rumors that people say, oh, well, you know, Jay-Z or Beyonce will do something to stop people's careers, or they'll slow down people's careers, or they'll silence people or whatever else, we would have never known that unless Eminem or 50 said something about it. But I can guarantee you, if 50 Cent had not ended up at that Super Bowl halftime show, we would have never heard, oh, Jay-Z is the reason I didn't do it. Because even if he would have come, or no, even if he didn't say it to everybody, then I think the public would have looked at 50 like, oh, he's just a sore loser type of thing. Oh, he's just mad because he's not in Jay's circle, or it would have been some sort of, you know, internet fodder like that. But the fact that he was at the Super Bowl, now he could talk about it. Now he could say this is what actually happened. I feel like after I saw that podcast or whatever 50 was on, and he was just kind of like, you know, this is serious and blah, blah, blah. He really, to me, pumped the brakes on Jay. That's when I was like, oh, somebody has tapped 50 Cent on the shoulder and was like, yo, shut the fuck up. Because I haven't heard 50 Cent say one word. I haven't heard Jay come out of his mouth in over a year. And by now, we would have seen a meme. After those Epstein files got dropped and his name supposedly is in it somewhere, allegedly, we would have heard from 50. Why we ain't heard nothing? If we heard something, y'all put it in the chat. Let me know. Because I ain't heard one solitary word. So what I believed about 50 Cent being able to, you know, get shit done, I no longer believe that. Because I think the powers that really be stopped it. I do believe that. Believe that 100%. So now let's go on to Sloan Bella, because she talked about Epstein. I think this video is like 6 years old or something like that. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Let me see. When was this video? Yeah, it says 60. It says 6 years ago is when Sloan, she's a psychic, talked about Epstein. So let's see what she has to say.
Overtly narcissistic tendencies, I don't imagine they kill themselves. They don't usually kill themselves. So either way, I received the message over the text and I was like, let me focus.
And let me just start here. This is why I didn't believe that Epstein unalived himself. I believe if he did, and I don't know, like, again, this is all alleged, it's all for entertainment purposes, and I wasn't there, so I don't know none of this to be true or false or nothing, right? But when it came out that he unalived himself, I was just like, no. Listen, I have a social work and therapy background. And so you have to pass a state licensure test to be able to be licensed to practice social work, to practice therapy and all that, right? And one of the things they're going to have on that damn test is about narcissists. You're just going to know it. It's going to be a part of your required reading. It's going to be a question on the test. It just is what it is. So I know exactly what a narcissist is. And a lot of times narcissists will manipulate people. And to the outside world, they seem like these charming, you know, people, everybody likes them, but then they torture the people that are really close to them, like the girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, right? Children, things like that. But when I heard that, I was like, no, Epstein seems like a narcissist. So he would not, they are in love with themselves. No, everything that happens in their life, if it isn't good, someone else did it. It's someone else's fault. So they would not do that to themselves. So that's why whenever that story came out that he unalived himself in jail, I was just like, nah, And then now that we have the FBI, the State Department, whoever these people are, who have dropped all of these, I guess, 3 million emails and videotapes and pictures and all that kind of stuff onto the internet, or the files, quote unquote, onto the internet, why the fuck would the government do that exactly? That to me makes absolutely zero sense. But what does make sense is someone saying we have to silence this man, because I do believe Jeffrey Epstein was one of those type of people, very similar to Jay-Z right now, and probably similar to Diddy at the time, where money and power was going to get him out of any fucking thing. And the fact that Epstein had already been charged, and I feel like he was charged and found guilty of soliciting prostitutes, when you can't be a fucking prostitute if you're underage, right? You can't legally in the state of Texas consent if you're underage. So how the fuck can you be a prostitute? And that's what they call the victims, right? And Epstein, this is the fucked up part about all of the shit that happened with Epstein. Epstein got sentenced to, I think, a year and a half, something like that. But this mofo had work release, which means out of the 24 hours or 8 hours or whatever in the day, 8 to 10 hours, he wasn't even in jail. He just basically came there to sleep. So you mean to tell me a man with that type of power, that already had all kinds of sexual allegations prior to this, they finally said, okay, we can't ignore this, but we will minimize it down to, soliciting prostitution. Who goes to jail for a year and a half, or who gets the sentence of a year and a half for soliciting prostitution? You certainly don't get that if you are Jeffrey Epstein, worth 100 million, 200 million, whatever it was he was worth, which wasn't all his money. It was that old guy who I think owned Express or the Limited or something like that. That was that guy's money. Now, what made me wonder, what made my ears perk up, is when that guy, the older guy that owned either Express or the Limited or Limited too, he had, and I think he owned, I could be wrong about this, but I think he owned Victoria's Secret or something. He had a lot of money. At some point, that man gave Epstein like full power over all his money. How does somebody who does not come from money, whose family was not wealthy, who's not college educated, how does he get that type of power and control? So when they said he was found unalived in a jail cell, some high priority, elite, mega rich, mega powerful, mega connected, somewhat socialite celebrity that nobody really knew of, except for the really top people, how does he come up dead in his jail cell? Help me understand. The only thing that makes sense to me is that he didn't unalive himself, and that maybe he threatened, if they didn't get him out of there, that he was going to release some things on the really powerful people even more powerful than him. And I think they say, oh, no. That's not going to happen. We're not about to let that happen. And then suddenly he dies. I'm not saying none of this stuff is true. Like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know none of these people. It's all alleged. It's all for entertainment purposes. But it does make you think. It things that make you say, And listen, I only know peripherally anything about any of this stuff. And it's just my own little, insular research, just from watching other videos or documentaries and things like that. It's not anything that I have some sort of, documents in a file, in my computer, nothing like that. But it's just all a little sus. But anyway, let's listen to Sloan Bella talk about Epstein.
On his energy while I'm running. So I tried to pull in on any strand of thought I could around his passing, and I could pick up nothing. It was like just completely a dead zone, no pun intended, but it was completely like nothing I could pick up. So that's not unusual when somebody first crosses over, unless you have personal interaction with the person and they come to you energetically. This was not the case with him. So I was trying to figure out what was going on, why this was in this way, why I couldn't connect with him. And I started to meditate on it over the next week. And the information I was receiving was around the situation, not from him. So let's just go into this in a little bit of an abstract way, because at times it's difficult to explain in lay terms to people. And I don't know that I understand myself. So I may have to take this very slowly in order to explain it from what I understand. I don't really understand it. So from what I was getting, Jeffrey Epstein's energy when he was a young person born into his family and came onto the planet basically from childhood, almost thereafter, around age 10 through 16, this kid was very highly focused on money, is what they were showing me. Very focused on, I am going to get respect. I am going to be seen in a certain way. People are going to want me. It's almost like a bruised ego. Like you're the kid in high school that gets bullied. So you want to get all the chicks and all the cars. And so you want all the money, or be a football player. Or, you know, why little kids want football jackets, letters, you know, cheerleaders. They want to be popular. All right. Not realizing that in the scheme of an entire lifetime, popularity comes in different ways, usually through you finding what you love to do and embracing people in your life. I think this was lost to him at this point. But either way, when he was very young, they were showing me that he was extremely, he had a huge inferiority complex, huge. Okay, so it stems from the beginning of that. Now let's take this in a different direction. A lot of you out there understand that you go to church when you're little, whatever your church is, Catholicism, Judaism, Buddhism, anything, whatever it is. Just straight up Christianity, Southern Christianity, whatever, you go to church. Well, the same thing is true of the darker arts and the way that people pray the opposite way, if you will. So let's say you're a person with a huge inferiority complex and you feel unsuccessful, even though you're not really grown yet. But somehow you just come from this abusive childhood where people tell you things like this and you believe that. So let's say energy wise, something comes into your consciousness where you understand that you can actually be the way you want to be. So you can be that kind of person. Hi, everyone. I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com, and I'm back with another infamous. I expected it. I did expect it, but something was very, very off. So I started to focus on it and I started to ask, you know, what happened to him? What was the situation about? And I couldn't pull in any energy. So I was trying and I couldn't. I wanted to understand why that is. Now, sometimes when people cross over, you're not going to pull their energy, but his outside personality was basically that of a showman. Okay. So I would say a highly, highly overtly narcissistic temperament with him. He could talk to you in a way that allowed you to believe that he did and had the things that he didn't have. Well, he actually did have them, but may or may not have had them at the time. And I feel that when he was very young, before the age of 20, that he basically started to pray in a way that would help him conjure up what he wanted in his life. What he wanted most was power and respect. I want to be seen and I want respect. Now, I was asking my guides why I couldn't connect with him. Not that I really wanted to connect with him. And I got a huge warning with his energy. I was basically given the impression that I was to stop asking to do that, that they weren't going to let me do that. It wasn't going to happen that way, because if I got into that energy field, I was going to get extremely sick. They talked about him being part of the fallen group that came from, on the spiritual side, those that fall in darkness, if you will. I don't know. That's just what I was getting. They fall in darkness. So he, Jeffrey Epstein, was no longer Jeffrey Epstein, the kid that was born that. He was outside of himself in the astral. Okay. So he too had been praying in a dark way. And there was a very forceful entity with him, almost like a Pied Piper, but in the most negative and derogatory way. So this was something that had filled up his physical form, his physical body, and was acting as though he was Jeffrey Epstein. But I assure you, at the end of Jeffrey's life, Jeffrey wasn't there. And I straight up asked my guides through meditation, whatever I was hearing, where the hell did he go? Because I can't feel him. And basically what I was told is that although the physical body shut down and was basically discarded, okay, so think of a caterpillar getting out of their caterpillar bodysuit, or a snake shedding its skin. The entity or the energy that consumed Jeffrey Epstein jumped into another vessel. What is a vessel? It is a human body. Because if you've ever been to a funeral where they have an open casket, which I've been to several, not my favorite thing to do, because when I'm looking at the person, I'm like, they're not even here. Now, a lot of times with the people I've gone to, if family members or whomever, they are actually in the room and I can sense them in the room, but they're not in the body. So when I'm staring at the body, it's like staring at a snake skin. I'm like, okay, and so in that sense, Jeffrey Epstein left. The demonic energy jumped into another vessel. Now, the Jeffrey Epstein, the person who was supposed to come in and inhabit and take this life on as a challenge and actually try to respond to it, he was outside of himself from very young on, about the age of 16. What I mean by that is, so there's a physical body here, and there's a person with DNA and a personality and energy and emotive and all of those things. Well, when he decided he wanted this huge thirst for power and to be seen because of his crap ass childhood and whatever other idiosyncrasies he was born with, which I feel had to do with the way his physicality was. We all have read about, this. Anyway, we've all read about all that. So that probably had a lot to do with it. Not feeling strong enough, not feeling powerful enough, all of those things. But I also get that he was a bit of a gambler, and he liked to play. Now, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I was told. I was told that when they fall from the dark side, so when they are basically fallen from the God source or the source energy, and they choose to reject it, because remember, we have free will, we can choose. So let's say they think everything that the rest of us think, or the ones that do think like us, being a good person, working hard, doing those things, those bill of goods we've been sold, apparently, according to the world stage, where everybody who's controlling us isn't actually following those rules, but they want us to follow them, which has always been a bone of contention for me, quite frankly, because I could see that they were full of it. And I'm like, but I'm supposed to sit here and I'll get nailed if I don't do this, but you get away with it. So the imbalance is like clear to me. But regardless of that, let's say he chooses not to work hard. Let's say he chooses to work differently. Let's say he chooses to work the street angle to an extreme, okay? Like the street hustler angle to an extreme. That's what he decided to do. So when he made that decision, and he did, he basically is pushed outside of the auric field over here like this. Now, I will give you another example where that happens. When you women, and me women, have been pregnant, and we're in the beginning stages of our pregnancy, and we can feel a little baby in our tummy, and it's super exciting. The baby's soul, the soul that's going to come in and be our child, doesn't actually come into the physical body until about 5 minutes before birth. They are around us in our energy field, but not technically in us. It's really weird. I know that sounds strange, because people are like, no, I can feel my baby kicking. I can feel my baby at 4 months. I got indigestion, the little feet came out. We all associate that with the child, with the soul, but in effect, the soul grounds in during the birth process. So the soul actually inhabits the vessel, the baby in the stomach. Okay, so the vessel that's growing in your stomach, the baby, for all intents and purposes, is very much around the mother and the family and everybody when the pregnancy is going on. So there's instances of that. In the case of the very opposite case of those that choose to step away from the source energy, or, the crown chakra energy that aligns us in unison in a very positive and loving way. When they choose to step away from that, they are pushed outside of their body's energy. So it's like they're over here, but they are not in charge of the physicality anymore. And that leaves the door open for someone to step in. Now, I'm going to give you another example, which is not a demonic example or an entity example or an alien example. I'm going to give you the movie Heaven Can Wait with Warren Beatty, if any of you remember that. It's actually the second or third remake of it, and I think that was back in the 70s. But if you remember that movie, there is he gets into an accident, and his guides pull him out of his body before he actually dies in the accident. So the guide doesn't want him to experience the pain, so his soul is pulled out. Well, at this point, before they realize the mix-up, because it's a new guy on the other side, it's a beginner guide. Before they find the mix-up, the guide is actually, the body's cremated, so they have no body to put the soul back, and the soul's not supposed to be dead. So they have to hunt for another athlete that Warren Beatty's character can get into the body so that he can actually continue his life. So they actually have to find a physical vessel of a person who is an athlete in this particular instance, who is going to come in and actually have to cross out of their physical body, and they have to swap the souls in and out, which is a really interesting premise. I always love that movie because it's so interesting. Now, Warren Beatty's character has full recognition of who he is and, you know, why he can't get into his body. But at the end, when the deal is done, they erase the memory from him. So he becomes that athlete. So when that athlete is presumed dead and actually went dead, they took the other soul of him away and crossed over. And then Warren Beatty's character jumped in and that life continued. So then the athlete got up. So there was a death period, a birth period. We call that a walk-in in metaphysics. And there's a lot of debate about it. I'm not even debating it. I'm just referencing the movie as a way of trying to explain what I feel happened to Jeffrey Epstein. I feel like he jumped the entity, the energy of him, which was extremely dark. And they kept telling me, we're not letting you go there. So there was no way I was going to be able to channel him. And he is not dead in the classical sense, as in the energy continues to live on. So that energy, like a cockroach in your house, isn't dying right now. It's going to continue on. It's in a different vessel. So that's the first thing I got with it. And I found it really interesting because it's not actually that I wanted to channel. It's not for me to do because I'm not in that energy field. If you actually get in the presence of complete dark evilness, you, who is not like that, will get physically sick. That's what I was being made to feel. So that right there and in and of itself means that if you're looking at a lot of mediums channeling his energy, I don't know how they're getting it because technically he's jumped ship, so to speak. So he just took off. Now, another interesting thing I get, because I asked, okay, let's open up the energy around the situation. Because again, I like to feel the energy. I don't necessarily have to know who did what. Now, his cellmate, the cop, the weightlifting cop, the big guy that's supposed to be in there for life for whatever, really interesting because they blamed him for the first assault on Jeffrey Epstein. Like they blamed him for that. That cop, the reason he was out of that cell to begin with, meaning after that first supposed suicide attempt, and they blamed it on the cop, but he wasn't actually charged with it, but they tried to blame it on him. The reason that guy asked to be moved out of Jeffrey Epstein's cell is because he started to see the metaphysical or the spiritual negativity around Jeffrey Epstein. They were showing me that. He got straight out spooked. He wasn't trying to kill the guy. He wasn't even trying to do anything with the guy. He got straight out spooked, okay? The word is spooked and wanted out. I want no parts of this is what I heard. He is being shown an actual lesson in what he's been doing in his own life through what happened with Jeffrey Epstein. So his negative actions in murdering people, etc., he's being shown through Jeffrey Epstein what potentially lies ahead for him is what I was hearing. Not the murder in jail. That's not what I mean. I mean the actual spiritual manifestation of evil energy and presence that was surrounding Jeffrey Epstein in that jail. And it was getting madder and angrier and more pissed off. Now, it was a combination of things that killed Jeffrey Epstein, obviously his own behavior to get in jail. And I'm not abdicating that, the human being was outside of the body, therefore he's not responsible. To begin with, when you conjure up entities through any kind of black magic spell or white magic spell or spell, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, and you call up something to help you, you have now attached an entity to your body. Be very careful with the words that you speak and what you pull in, because it's nothing to play with. We are not taught that on earth, by the way. We are taught that if we go to our Catholic school, our Christian school, our Buddhist school, our Jewish temple, wherever it is we go, we will, we're only taught that one thing, except I will say in Catholicism, they do have the movie The Exorcist. So that does kind of let you know that even they believe something happens like that. And they should, because I won't even get into that. Anyway, they should, because it's run by a bunch of little exorcists running around inside of the priests' bodies and what they're doing. Anyhow, aside from that, but when we pray on this side, we're not really taught to consider the other imbalance to bring into balance what we are doing, which is the negative side of the positive side. There's always two sides. So a lot of people refuse to see the negative. They absolutely refuse. I'm saying to you, in Jeffrey Epstein's particular case, this was a big issue. because his cellmate was like, get me the hell out of here. I don't even want to go there. I don't think his cellmate understood in any way whatsoever, what he had in the cell with him. Now, he was put into, this is what they're telling me, he was put into the cell to keep an eye on Jeffrey Epstein. He was an informant of sorts, or he was a person that would speak about his cellmate. That was the specific reasoning of putting him in there. And they picked him in particular because he talks so like cool, and he's sociopathic, if you will. And he could talk to another one. So it'd be like two of them talking. And so he could get the information out of Jeffrey Epstein and then relay it back. But right now he wanted away from all of that. Get me away from it is what I'm seeing. So that energy was really interesting. Now, the other thing I got around it was on Jeffrey Epstein's island, we have Little St. James and there's Big St. James. But there's two parts to Little St. James. There's the I'm a creepy pervert pedophile part, and I want to pay for a 10-year-old over on this side. And then there's I'm part of the satanic cult of success and power, and I really went for it, and I let them talk me into it side. So now I have to continue with what the cult says. It is a cult. It is a cult. It is a cult. And you are going to see so many people that you idolize from that cult be called out on it. It's starting to happen now. It really is starting to happen. It is incredible what's going to happen. Now, that what they did tell me is that Jeffrey Epstein was caught and arrested, not because it's the unveiling of everything else that's coming, but because they used Jeffrey Epstein and killing him, supposedly, and I'm sorry, suiciding him or him suiciding himself. They used that situation to distract from something else. And I believe it's a satanic cult. That's actually what I believe. But they also used it for people that aren't seeing or choose not to see or choose only to see the positive and not the reality of the situation. Don't make a judgment from here on in about what you see, just see. So when you look at a tree or a flower or a homeless tent or a politician or a drug dealer or a cop or a teacher or a woman or a man or a kid, don't make a judgment, observe. Stand back, detached, and watch. That's what we have to do so that we can start to understand what's going on energetically in this world. And with Jeffrey Epstein, he was the beginning, eye-opening in the spiritual war, throwing him out there to say, look, what you think, and what you align with, and the fake reality that you've been looking at your whole life, probably, because it's been my whole life. Although I could see it as a kid, like that was my one talent, is I could see pedophiles a mile away and I could see bullshit from the other side a mile away. So I could see demonics playing tricks and I could see people that were hurting children. Like it was just innate with me. It always has been. And I can see it. I can actually look at a person and read it, which is really weird, but it's like this weird quirk. What we saw with Jeffrey Epstein is most of us cannot deny now that we have a government-run agency called a jail and a police department that somehow let a man either A, kill himself, or B, get murdered in a maximum security prison, which tells you that the world that we live in is not the way we think, that there really isn't protection, that people can be bought off, which was exactly Jeffrey Epstein's principle. There's money to buy somebody off. You can pay for anything. Everyone has a price, which may or may not be true, but that was his thinking. And obviously, with the fact that he's dead in the jail cell, everybody does have a price because somebody richer, somebody more powerful came in and said that prick needs to die. So he definitely was murdered. He was taken out, but the entity took off. Like, in other words, you're killing him, but let's say he takes on another vessel. What does that vessel look like? We don't know. It's basically like a horror movie, which is really weird, but it is. So Jeffrey Epstein's energy is very interesting. There's so much to do with the cult that's going to come out. And what I'm seeing right now is there's a lot of paperwork that's being like mixed up, like thrown over here, thrown over there. There's a lot of things going on. The royal family is going to have to acquiesce for what that Prince dummy did, because it's Prince Andrew, Prince whatever his name is. They're going to have to acquiesce because there's so many things that are going to come out about the royal family between now and the early part of April next year that it's not going to stop. So it's going to behoove them to actually throw him out as a, here, go fetch, go over there, so that they can distract away from themselves. Every power group that we align ourselves with is basically connected to this Jeffrey Epstein thing. Connected from that point is the fact that there are children, brown-skinned children being trafficked. Everybody emails me, what is brown-skinned children? So I was asking about the brown-skinned children. What the hell does that mean? Because I know what it means, like visually what it means, but I couldn't understand what it means in reference to Jeffrey Epstein and the power controllers of our world. So the people that run the IRS, the people that run companies like Apple and Amazon, the people that are dictators and prime ministers and presidents and monarchs of countries. I couldn't understand, what the hell does this mean? So I was shown behind the scenes on an energetic level, in a dimensional level, okay? So above what is tangible, above what we see, above what we can touch, above the texture of the earth, I was shown that these people are siphoning the energy from these third world countries, these brown-skinned babies, these brown-skinned people. They are siphoning.
I think Nicki Minaj was saying something like that, child. She on Twitter, she's tweeting. I'm just saying.
The energy. So they are taking the energy, as in the life force of these people, through some sort of telepathic control that I really don't understand, and they are harvesting it. So the only thing I could think of was an example. So, you know, you go to work and you have a coworker and you're like, I first like this person, but then this person wouldn't shut up and they drain my energy and they're like, blah, blah, blah. And then when they leave, I'm like, oh my God, I can hardly crawl to the chair to take a nap at my desk and I'm gonna get fired. Those people, those energy vampires, that's what's been going on in these third world countries. Their energy, creativity, and essence has been stolen. So they continue to steal it because now the structure of those people is weakened. That's what I heard. So they are utilizing the most vulnerable in our community on Earth, or in this place of Earth, this energy field of Earth. I call it a prison planet. I've heard that, so I'm stealing that word, but it is a prison planet. They have stolen the energy of these people. They have taken it and harvested it, just like the energy vampire coworker that you have at work that you're trying to run away from, but you have to work with them because they sit next to you and you're like, oh my God, I can't talk to this person anymore because they're going to make me so tired. It's exactly like that. They have stolen the energy of these third world countries and these brown-skinned children. What are children? Children are full of life and energy and absolutely amazing, and they're vital and they're creative and they can think of things differently and they come at it in a different position. How about they're taking those kids metaphysically, spiritually, energetically, their essence of their soul, the energy field, the etheric body, and they are harvesting it somehow in another dimension. So on the astral level, and then they are taking the kids here because the kids' energies, once that happens, once you are shut down by an energy vampire, you don't really have the strength to fight it because you don't really know where it's coming from. And you might just go home and lie down. Well, these kids and these countries kind of soften, leaving them vulnerable to attack. And that's what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein. That's what these people are doing. The energy of these people has been stolen over centuries from these other, okay, call them elite bloodlines or bloodlines of people and DNA differently structured entities, call them aliens, call them assholes. I don't care, but that's what's happening. So I was shown this hierarchy that's going on. So these people in these countries need to get their power back. Jeffrey Epstein knew that, which means he's kind of a magician in a way, or can conjure up things on the other side. So don't think for 1 minute that he's actually, quote, technically dead. Nobody really is. What dies is the physical body, the carcass, the vessel is what dies. The soul usually goes on. In Jeffrey's case, it jumped into another vessel. And that is what I'm seeing. Can I prove it? I cannot prove it, but that is what I felt. I was also told he was a dark entity of like extreme. That's how he got in and lured everybody. That's what they do. I mean, if something dark is going to come to you, do you think the first time a drug dealer goes to give you like a shot of heroin, he's going to go, this is going to make you throw up every day for the rest of your life that you shoot it up. It's going to wreck everything in your body, fuck with your mind, shut down your organs. You'll probably overdose 3 or 4 times if you can ever get clean again, which is highly doubtful considering on how much we poisoned you with it. No, they tell you about the cool parties with the cool people and come to me this party. Just let me shoe you up. Just let me try. Then they get you hooked. They don't come in and tell you the nasty shit that happens. Same with your first drink. Same with all of this. That's the same way the dark energy works. When the dark energy falls to earth, it's going to give you what you want. What did Jeffrey Epstein do? He was a procurer of all underage, kind of perverted, satanic, cult-like, ritualistic, child abusing, adult abusing, blackmailing, adult murder, kid murder, trafficking all over the world, controlling of the dollar, controlling of the governments, information stealing bastard on the earth. Now, how did he get his start? Well, here's what I'm going to say. The guy that runs Victoria's Secrets, I believe his last name is Wexner or Wexler, whatever it is, and I don't care. It's Leslie or Les. That guy and Jeffrey, two sociopaths hooked up. That guy is the money behind Jeffrey Epstein. That guy gave Jeffrey the money and the reign with which to use his charm and his street con, but let's look at it as an energetic con, okay? It's not straight up street, but it is street and it's energetic. And he used it in order to do a power play. So the two worked in tandem together, and in my opinion, may have been some kind of sick, sadistic lovers, because that's what I pick up. That's kind of what I saw. That's what I'm saying. And that's the essence and the first energies that picked up around Jeffrey Epstein. I can tell you that I don't feel it was suicide. I do see something coming from behind him like this, but it's a cracking down here. It's not a noose. It's actually a cracking. It's coming from behind. The hand is behind and it's cracking. And it was not his cellmate. His cellmate is terrified of what he's seen. And what flashes in my head when I'm talking about the cellmate is if you ever watched the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg and Patrick Swayze, and yes, I'm going to do a video on Patrick Swayze. I love that movie. It was so on point to how the psychic mediums see the world and like shit that we see that you can't say. And it was sold as a comedy actually, which I find hilarious because it was actually extremely authentic in its portrayal. So whoever they referenced or whoever the medium was that was speaking to the writers was on point. But there's a point where the henchmen for the banking, whoever killed Patrick Swayze, I can't remember the whole story, but the people that worked with him and were protecting his files, when they see the dark entities come up, the fallen nasty entities, the guy is like running, trying to run screaming, this big tough bully guy that's like, you know, killing people, murdering people. He's a hired gun. He's screaming like a baby running away from the dark energy. That's what Jeffrey Epstein's cellmates. I literally got that flash. So I know that he saw the spiritual side. Remember, we are in a spiritual turning around. So the reverse world is flipping back to the balanced world. It's been reversed. It's upside down. We've been living in the upside down world. This is changing now, and that is what's going on. So that is my first video on Jeffrey Epstein, although not channel.
Child, listen. That's why I trust Sloan. Like, I don't know her. I don't know if any of this is what she's saying is true, but everything she said about Diddy when she did the Kim Porter videos, all of it came true. Every single, down to the day. It was crazy. So after that, I was like, oh. And when I watched, she did a video on what's his name? Biggie Smalls, Big Papa, whatever, Notorious B.I.G. And when she said that he called P. Diddy the devil dog, I was like, yo, like I thought that was like, I didn't want to watch it for like months. The one she did on him or Diddy, I'm sorry, or Tupac, because I was like, oh, I don't want to hear her say something and it's gonna, you know, influence people negatively about Tupac, you know, so I didn't want to watch it. But when she said that that's what he was calling Diddy, I knew nothing. I was like a baby YouTuber, so I knew nothing about Diddy. I knew nothing about any of his dark side and all of that. So when I watched that, and then you watch everything basically play out before our eyes, then you kind of like, yo, I can't necessarily say that this, I mean, she's been spot on. But she's not God. So obviously she could have, you know, some things wrong or be close to it, but not necessarily 100% accurate. But what she said about Jeffrey Epstein sounds about right. Sounds about right. It's scary though. It's really, really creepy and scary. I'm glad I'm not a psychic. I'm always like, nope, I don't want to know. Don't show me nothing. I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to know none of that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to know none of that. But leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about. Oh, I wanted to talk about real quick about Beyonce. They said that she's lost. It's being reported that Beyonce has lost like 10 million Instagram followers or whatever social media followers. And I'm like, that's crazy. They've also reported that some big names have stopped following Jay-Z, which I think the names are like Rihanna. Rihanna allegedly stopped following him. I don't follow people's social media like that, so I don't really know. I don't pay attention that closely. But Rihanna stopped following him, and she's a megastar. Tina Knowles stopped following Jay-Z. That to me was very surprising, mostly because I think, Beyonce is very, very concerned and manages to make sure all of the people in her circle, especially her family and all that, they don't make a move without her permission, in my opinion. So they never talk about Jay-Z. They really don't. And if they do, it's very kind of like glazed over and general. It's not specific. Rarely is it specific. So to see, Tina Knowles unfollow him, I thought he must have did some shit to this lady's daughter, which a lot of the internet has said for years, that she's not her own person and she's been controlled by him and all that kind of stuff. So if you go watch the Sloan Bella one on Jay-Z, she kind of talks about how Jay-Z controls everything and pushes her out there, and he's like, he procures her and like she's the moneymaker. Because she is. Because when the last time we seen Jay-Z go on tour alone? I ain't never been to a Jay-Z concert. He never made enough hits, in my opinion, for me to want to go. I just never looked up to him in that way. He was never my guy. He made some hits, I can't lie, but never that guy. But then I saw Kelly Rowland, and I thought, that's Beyonce's bestie from childhood. I've always wanted to know what Kelly thought about that relationship. But again, all of Beyonce's circle, they never say anything about him. They never mention him by name. They never do that, if you notice. They just say he's a very nice gentleman. That's all they say. Never anything beyond that. And you notice Beyonce doesn't even do videos anymore. Like she doesn't do interviews whatsoever, which is bizarre. And I think they try to chalk it up to, oh, well, she's such a big star. She's so busy now. She's so whatever. Nobody's that fucking busy. And I believe Beyonce is very busy, but you never want to talk about your side of anything ever? Never, ever? Ever? That's just bizarre to me. Maybe it's just me, but I think that's bizarre. Then the NFL unfollowed Jay-Z. What the fuck does that mean? I'm like, what? And then Apple Music or Apple whatever, they unfollowed Jay-Z. And I'm thinking, the NFL has kind of, I feel like Jay-Z was their like savior, seemed like, whenever, Colin Kaepernick was basically taking a knee and then he got kicked out of the NFL and blackballed and all that kind of stuff. And Black people and others were pissed. Like, the fuck are you doing? All this man is doing is taking a knee, and he's taking a knee about the injustice that's happening, in the police brutality of Black people. Why is that bad? He's not putting the spotlight on himself. Y'all are the ones that's focusing in on it, right? So then, because the NFL was doing everything they could, they putting in racism in the touchdown zones, and it takes all of us, and they doing all of this type of stuff, and it ain't working because now everybody taking a fucking knee, and who you gonna kick out everybody? You can't kick everybody out. So then all of a sudden, here goes Jay-Z. Now Jay-Z is a part of the halftime show, which makes no sense. Who the fuck is Jay-Z? He's not our savior. He's not the person. He doesn't stand in the gap for all Black people. Like, it's just bizarre. But that happened, and I felt like they did that because of his relation to Beyonce. Meaning everybody loves Beyonce. And I don't mean literally everybody, but I'm saying it's hard to find people that are just like, yeah, I don't like her, or don't listen to her music, or something to that effect, or don't in some way say, she's inspiring, or whatever the case may be, right? So even if they didn't love Jay-Z, they're not gonna knock him because he's married to Beyonce. It's just a fact. They're just not. So he rolled into that position, which I don't even understand where that shit came from, but I guess he's supposed to be number one or wants to be the one. And so then it was just, okay, he's in charge of the Super Bowl halftimes. Again, what the hell does that have to do? How are y'all, eliminating some of the racist practices that the NFL has? How are y'all eliminating or addressing it or anything? Just because you put him in, it just didn't make any sense to me. But they stood by his side because they said whenever last year, I think it was last year or the end of the year before, when he got accused, that accusation of, R-wording a 13-year-old, he had, listen, all the eyes was on him. The lawyer, Busby from Texas, from my home city, had his stiletto right on that man's neck. And I was just like, I was moved by the fact that Jay-Z addressed it, because I was like, yo. And then Jaguar Wright, I don't even feel like Tony Busby, that's his name, the attorney. I don't even feel like Tony Busby got Jay-Z to make any type of statement. I think Jaguar Wright did, because she got on that damn TV show, Piers Morgan. It was like, to me, she put him on notice. She was like, he has to say some shit now. He cannot, because her being on YouTube and on the Art of Dialogue or all the different platforms that kind of host Jaguar Wright's antics, right? Those weren't big enough for Jay-Z to say, I gotta say something. But whenever he went over there to Piers Morgan, she was like, oh, and I don't even know if Jay wanted to say anything. I think Beyonce was like, yo, you better go say some shit. You better go say something. But that's if she has any power, which most of the internet believes she does not have any real power. They believe that Jay-Z has all the power and she's kind of like a puppet. That's what they believe. Beyonce, girl, if you ever watch this video, I hope that's not the truth for you, because you're from my city, and you're very talented, and I hope if you've been involved in any of the buffoonery surrounding Diddy or Jay-Z or the entertainment industry and the savage things that they have done to people over the years, I'm just praying to God that you get out and you apologize. Maybe you could be looked at as a victim. I hope. But anyway, y'all, that's the last of what I wanted to say about Jay-Z. God bless them and their families, y'all. But sounds like he's going down. I don't even know if he's going down immediately. According to Sloan Belichick, the knockdown started, she said, in 2020, I think 2025 through 2027 or something like that. And this is his second situation where the whole internet is set ablaze about what the fuck is going on with Jay. She says it's going to be in the burglary of something. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'm going to go get ready for bed. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Chanel's Reality. I'm Chanel, and this is my reality. Bye, guys.